For a man to have affected so many lives, there had to be something very special about him. For lack of a better word, it's called character. Like his open enthusiasm and honesty, Bob Ufer had it in abundance. He championed causes, he supported ideas, he stood by beliefs and convictions. He was determined to be fair, to do what was right, what was just. Bob was an inspiration to those that would follow in his footsteps.
Certainly a pleasure to be a part of this because I had such great respect for Bob Ufer. I did meet him several times, and I was totally impressed with how legitimate and how real he was. And his love for Michigan was so unique and so special. And I just love people like that. I have a great feeling for people that really have a passion for what they're doing, who are excited about what they're doing, and he certainly embodies that. And I really believe he helped me in my career to understand that you can be enthusiastic, you can be excitable about what you're doing, and still be able to be positive in the things you do. He was a special, special person.
The voice of Dick Vitale. And then, of course, there were the hundreds of players whose lives were enriched by having known Bob. Here, Ed Hood, himself a player, talks about what Bob gave to him.
I felt he was a friend. I felt he was someone who did not just say, Ed, how are you doing, and not expecting to get a reply. And Bob was there. You know, he was a pillar of strength for those athletes. I mean, you get you guys on a football team, and maybe 30 are having a great deal of success, and you've got 2/3 who are struggling a little bit. Bob had time for everyone.
I could never really put into words how much I truly appreciated his friendship, a lot of the advice and the background on the history and the traditions and what it really meant to go to university and be an athlete there and a student athlete. You know, Bob would always give me a call or stop by my apartment or dorm and kind of tell me some of the things he had been hearing about the current week and how we were preparing and kind of what I thought about the upcoming game. And, you know, before you know it, a lot of times we'd just sit down for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time and just kind of shoot the bull. And, you know, I'll always treasure that because we were very close and I loved and admired him very much.
That was former U of M quarterback Rick Leach and the reaching effects of Bob's influence. Commentator and football analyst Dan Theodore.
Bob Ufer was one of the guys who taught me and taught all of us who played back then that we were a part of something, A, that was very, very big, and B, was going to be a part of our lives for the rest of our lives. And that was being a part of the University of Michigan. And I think Bob Ufer was one of the first guys that helped bring that home. Because when you saw how it was, and he was not a young man, when you saw what a big part it was of his life, you realized, hey, this is going to be with me forever.
There was always the courage of his conviction, for his was a voice that led one to believe that he spoke of what he knew, what he had experienced. He had been there. He knew what it was like. Radio personality Paul W. Smith serves up these thoughts.
I knew Bob Ufer mostly through his work in radio and working on the album together, the first Ufer of Michigan album. But if you spent any time with him at all, he was one to talk a bit about his philosophy of life. And his family always was so very important to him. I think Bob Ufer wore his celebrity well, and he was always a little embarrassed about it because the real important thing was the game. And though he knew that people were starting to follow Bob Ufer and using Uferisms.
Touchdown, Jolly! This time it was a Jolly!
The Michigan State Jolly Green Giants, believe me, they have 7 big ones from the Athens of the West. And you just don't do that to the Harvard of the Midwest. That's the University of Michigan.
To set up a flare of Uferisms.
Russell Davis picking them up and laying them down, going in there like a bull with a bee in his ear.
He went down that tartan turf like a penguin with a hot herring in his cummerbund.
Oh my golly, God, did he look like a runaway piano? He's breathing hard. He went down there like a bunny with his tail on fire. Man, that guy could run 15 minutes in the phone booth, and he wouldn't even touch the sides. Like a penguin with a hot herring in his cummerbund, only he didn't have the herring until he took the post batter. He went in there like a bat out of, you know where bats come from. Isn't this fun? God darn it, this is what college football's all about. From the brink of despair to the heights of ecstasy. With all of the maize and blue festive situations that ever existed in the past are raining down on Canham's carpet now. Michigan football. Michigan wins. Hang on to your maize and blue fedoras. I tell you, Ole Miss is moving now. The guts and glue of the maize and blue is calling. And the maize and blue daubers are high here in East Lansing right now. Look at the tissue paper. I couldn't call it toilet paper over the air. That wouldn't be cricket. In the hole that Yost dug, Canham carpeted, and Chrysler paid for, and Schembeckler fills up with a what the hell, he fills it up every Saturday afternoon. Round Clayton electrifies the maize and blue heart. God bless his cotton-picking maize and blue heart. God bless his cotton-picking maize and blue Michigan heart. God bless his cotton-picking maize and blue sophomore heart. Bo Schembeckler is looking up at Beardy H. Yost in football's Valhalla. My eyes, you know, I'm an old man. I've got maize and blue spots right in front of me right now. Michigan, the Michigan victors. Oh, you're about as subtle as a kick in the face. Isn't this what college football's all about? That's why you're where you are, I'm where I am, and aren't you just loving the devil out of it? God darn it, this is great.
You can still walk in the parking lot at the stadium at University of Michigan and hear those tapes, the first tape and then the second tape of Ufer at Michigan, and you hear those moments, and then you hear people imitating those moments and the things that he would say and the way that he would say them. And he got a kick out of that. He enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. As gifted as Bob Ufer was with the spoken word, so is columnist Joe Falls with the written. Here, Joe articulates when asked his thoughts about the man.
I don't think I ever knew a sweeter man in my entire life, and that's a big statement. That's an awfully big statement, but I believe it. And I saw all of this, and I thought it was kind of sad in some ways that people judged him by the surface. And of course, that's all they could do. But this man did so much for so many people. You know, you'd go to Ann Arbor, for instance. I would go see Benny once in a while. Benny used to run when he was finished coaching, and I'd sit in Benny's front room with his dog at his side. And I thought this was great. And every time I went there, there was always a knock on the door. It was Bob Ufer. He would go for a walk around the neighborhood, and he would stop in to see Benny every single day because he knew Benny couldn't get out of the house, and he was there, and he just wanted to visit with the old coach. And I saw that happen. And I said, here's the kind of kindness that people just don't know. And I was privileged to see that. You know, he had a lot of bombast on the radio. But in private life, you really couldn't get an awful lot out of him.
He was a hard-working guy, and he was a humble guy. He was a good guy.